Hello, my name is Dawn Fiske, and I want to talk to you today about stress management. How, if we learn techniques to manage our stress, we will increase our output, our productivity, our well-being, our confidence, and our overall mojo. Now, first, I'm going to start with a question. What would you score your current stress levels over the last week, 2 weeks, something like that? 10 being the maximum, 1 being non-existent. How are you feeling right now? What score would you give yourself? Have a little check-in. It's important to do that, to sort of quite often have a check-in and think, where am I now? Where am I on the scale? What do I need to do to rectify that? Now, when you know where your stress levels are, where does that sit? How does it feel? What are your symptoms? How do you know when you're feeling stressed? For me, it goes straight to my stomach. I get a terrible churning, nausea, diarrhea, IBS, all of the gut issues. For me, if I'm stressed, if I'm nervous, if I'm anxious, it goes straight to the gut. For many people, it will go to the head, headaches, for example. For others, tight chest, feels like someone's kneeling on my chest, palpitations, rapid breathing, almost hyperventilating, maybe bordering on a panic attack. If you watch someone with a panic attack, they're short, sharp, shallow breaths, those sorts of things. Whilst for others, it can be clumsiness, tension, muscle tension, tension across the shoulders, and therefore then the tension headache because we're not getting the right blood flow to our brain. Others, it can be poor concentration, clumsiness because we're tense, low productivity, and so on. So others get very difficulty swallowing, hot, flush, all of those muscle tension areas, etc., etc. So these are all common profiles. Now, there is a reason for this. The reason they're common is because it's fight or flight. Now, you may have heard of fight or flight, and we're born with it. We need it for survival. It's still with us. We're still an animal. We need it for survival. If you were walking across the road or looking at your phone, just dawdling across the road and a car, big, you would get up onto that curb and out of the road very, very quickly without a second thought. In fact, it's instinctive. It's fight or flight. It's keeping you safe. You wouldn't think, oh, can I be bothered to move from that car? Or is this a more important video? You would instinctively react. Equally, if you were in the park and you were the only one there and there was just one other animal, a dog, growling, barking, and racing towards you, fight or flight would kick in. Your heart would start racing. You would run faster than normal, throw yourself over that fence or hedge and get away from that dog. We need it. We still need it. It's there from the caveman days. In the olden days, we might see a deer or a rabbit on the hillside there, and we might need to capture that to drag it back to the camp for food for the rest of the camp, for survival. So we would need to be fast, think clearly, tactical, strategic, fit and healthy. Equally, we might see something on the horizon and realize it's a bear coming for us or a rival tribesman, and we would need to either fight or run and get away pretty sharpish, get up that tree, whatever we have to do. We don't have to do that anymore. Not so often, hopefully. There's no one chasing us or no one threatening us. Our threats these days are much more thoughts. They're less actual physical. We don't need to run after that rabbit or that deer. We don't need to capture animals for our food. We can just pop to the supermarket. Mostly our stressors these days are thoughts, deadlines, pressures, the boss is on my back, we've got to hit numbers, got to hit projections, targets, got to keep within budgets, kids, jobs, traffic jams, late for meetings, trying to balance everything, trying to be everything to everybody, trying to juggle everything can be extremely stressful, exhausting. But they're mostly thoughts, meetings, presenting, all of those sorts of things. They're not actual threats. There are thoughts about what's about to happen and what we've got to do in our job, or for the children, or with the family, or money worries, those sorts of things. So those things go on long term. The worries about deadlines, the worries about budgets, the worries about bills and mortgages and children, and issues that children are presenting with their school behaviour, or their exams and pressures and what they're going to do, or anything like that, can be much more long term. Now, stress by itself can be a good thing. It's not a bad thing. If a car was beeping at you and it got you out of the road onto the curb and into safety, it's a good thing. If it gets you away from that dog, it's a good thing. It's served its purpose. It can be good for performance. Some theatre performers say that if they're not nervous before they go on stage, they give a really substandard performance, quite nonchalant performance. They need the nerves so that when the curtain opens, they're ready and the adrenaline is pumping. And that brings me to what causes those symptoms. Fight or flight is basically our body recognizing we're in danger. So, for example, let's say you're walking along in a dark alleyway and somebody at night, there's no moon, there's no street lights, you don't know where you are, it's an unknown town, 3 a.m, walking along, and a friend jumps out from behind the fence and shouts, "Boo!" This would kick in within less than a second, fight or flight. And what actually happens is your brain thinks danger. So it releases all the right chemicals. It immediately releases into your blood system adrenaline, cortisol, and noradrenaline, 3 stress hormones. And they act on the heart. They get the heart pumping fast, rapidly, to move the blood away from your digestive system, where it's quietly digesting your dinner. It doesn't need to be there anymore. It needs to be moved, pumped away to your muscles, to your arms and your legs, to your giving glucose and energy to your brain, to your vision, so you think clearly, you see clearly, your muscles are ready and primed and ready to run. You're not thinking about your to-do list when someone's just jumped out at 3 a.m. in the morning. I must get that report sent to my boss. No, all of your attention goes on the immediate threat. So that is without any thought. It's automatic within seconds. So your heart is now pumping, your oxygenated blood has gone to your muscles, to your brain, to your vision, etc. You're ready to fight for your life. Then you notice, after a second or two, you notice it's your friend. And you realize, I'm not in danger anymore. And so basically you switch, it's fine, I'm safe, oh, you fool, whatever. You've switched that off in your brain, and all of those chemicals stop coursing around your body. And so within about 30 seconds to a minute, your body reverts back to normal. The heart calms down, the blood pressure comes back down, the breathing slows again, the sweat going down your back starts to dry, your hands might be tingly as the blood is all going back to your stomach to digest again. It all goes back where it needs to be, in resting mode. You're not now in fight or flight. And that's exactly what we need. We need those big peaks when there's a real threat, and we need it back down calm. That's what it's for. However, long-term stress here, the threats of deadlines, the threats of budgets, bills, mortgages, children issues, family issues, juggling everything, being everything to everybody, giving out, that's long-term. And it's the longevity of us being slightly in fight or flight, with those chemicals coursing around our body, not at such a high peak, but kind of a third switched on. So you're slightly ready for a fight or a flight. You're not properly digesting. Your heart isn't properly at calm resting, and your blood pressure and your breath is not all nice and calm. It's slightly primed over long term. So actually what happens, we almost begin to feel this is normal. If it's been going on for days, weeks, maybe months, some of my clients, it's been long term, the longevity is the issue. That's when our immune system is really low. It affects and drags our immunity down. That's when we're much more susceptible, pick up with coughs, colds, viruses, etc. That's why we constantly feel we're getting chest pains, or slightly issues with breathing, and maybe slightly asthmatic perhaps, or at least our breathing isn't nice and calm. We might get skin conditions because of stress rashes and things like that. Our digestion isn't right, so we get the long-term IBS. This is why we can get all of the acid in our stomach is all an imbalance, so we can get digestion problems and acid and reflux and all those sorts of things because of stress. 70% of, at least 70% of doctors' consultations in the UK, in the NHS, GP consultations are in one way or another stress related, whether it's the headaches, whether it's the sleepless nights, whether it's the skin condition, the breathing, the chest problems, the heart issues, the digestion, all of that because of stress, unresolved long-term stress. So this is what we want to avoid, not the peaks when we really need it to keep us safe, but the slightly stressed, ready for action, long-term situation. And that's the area that I'm working on with you today, and why we need to find some strategies to help us. Because otherwise, we get all of the behavioral signs that kick in too. We try and cope with it. We try and put a kind of ointment on that injury. But they're short-term solutions. We think drinking, oh, I need a glass of wine, I need a beer, I need a few beers, I'm so stressed, let's go out for a few beers. Yeah, in the short term, that might make you feel a little bit better. Long term, again, it's the longevity of these things. That's only going to give you more problems, more health problems, more financial problems, a drinking problem, relationship problems, all of that. So the increased drinking or the increased smoking, again, will affect health conditions, sleep, your finances, so on. But these things will affect our poor concentration. That will affect your work output and your productivity. And if one of your stresses was concerned for the future of your role, i.e. possible redundancy, that's not going to help. So these things knock on and can make everything so much worse. It can affect our sleep in one way or the other. For some people, it prevents us from sleeping, and so of course we're constantly fatigued, tired, not thinking properly again. It's again affecting our productivity. For others, we may actually hide from the world and sleep more. Just keep going into bed, staying in bed for all, hiding under the quilt, quite metaphorically and literally. Same with food. For some, it puts them right off food and they start to lose weight, and they eat badly or eat comfort food, sugar or carbs, craving, or sit on this TV, watching mindless TV, eating a huge tub of ice cream or whatever. All of that is it's not going to help long term. For others, they may stop eating. So some may overeat, some may undereat. Either way, it can affect our health and our immune system and our productivity and our sleep and all of those sorts of things. They all impact potentially on each other. Often when we're feeling stressed, we'll socially avoid. I'm not in the right mood, I can't be bothered to get changed and go out and put a happy face on, I'm just not feeling it today, I wouldn't wish this mood on anybody, so they socially withdraw. And then it's a downward spiral, because then we're not talking about how we feel, we're not changing the scenario, the thoughts are imploding on us and we're completely, totally absorbed by it all. And it's, again, it's a self-fulfilling downward spiral. And it can affect our libido one way or the other. For many, it can decrease our libido. For some, it can make us go out and do very socially dangerous decisions and actions with increased libido or risk-taking with other people. So one way or the other, stress is not a good picture. And I'm not apologizing for that, because, of course, it's a stress program. But it's not a great profile, is it? And we do need to do something about that. So long-term stress then, it impacts on our mood. It makes us irritable, or for some tearful, or for some real anger and rage. We may behave differently. Emotional outbursts at work, which can be mortifying and embarrassing, and it can, affect how people see us at work, etc., etc. We can be oversensitive. We lose our sense of humour, so we don't want to go out, we don't want to socialise, and others don't want to be around us because they're miserable or, negative Nancy and things like that. And so people stop wanting to be around us. So it can be, again, self-fulfilling. The headaches can affect our concentration at work. Poor sleep gives us fatigue, gives us irritability, tearfulness, etc. They all can interplay on each other. We then make silly mistakes, maybe shoddy work. Then we might find ourselves being hauled up in front of the boss, and then we're adding to our situation, and our stress is going through the roof now because we've been told about our performance because of our poor concentration, making silly mistakes. And then, of course, that can all, if it goes on unchecked and unmanaged, can ultimately lead to some depression or anxiety. Our immune system is very low, so it can also add to not only mental health issues now with the depression and anxiety, poor sleep and insomnia, but it can also lead to physical illness because our immune system's taking an absolute hammering and we're prone to pick things up and develop illnesses. So I think I've painted enough of a picture of why we do need to get on top of this and why it's crucial that we manage our stress. So I'm going to give you some tips. What I would say, though, is although I call this a stress management program, it's a myth, really, because we can't actually manage our stressors quite often. We can't necessarily change the fact that our teenagers are giving us real challenges, just as we're going through hormonal changes ourselves, or work pressures ourselves, or relationship problems ourselves. We can't necessarily change the teenagers and what's going on for them at school, or the challenges they're having, or issues that they're facing, or pressures at work, if there are work and financial pressures at work, or redundancies. There's not much we can do about any of those things. Or if we've got elderly relatives that we're looking after and younger children and so on and so forth. We're limited in terms of what we can do about the stressors. What we have to manage is how we react to those stressors. So really, it's a self-management program, not a stress management program. It's how we react to those stressors and how we look after ourselves. That's the crucial part. So let me give you some tips. Now, tip number 1, this is my favorite, and actually I believe it's the most powerful. And there are reasons for it. And some of you a little part of you may die inside when you see the word exercise. I should change that actually to just movement. It's not exercise. You don't have to join a gym and get snazzy new great big trainers and new kit and stuff. It's movement. It's move more. Make your heart increase in its rate. Go out for a brisk walk. Go out for a cycle riding in the countryside. Go in your kitchen, shut the door for away from everybody, put some favourite tunes on and just dance around your kitchen. Sing and dance around your kitchen is even more powerful. Go and do some gardening, briskly mow the lawn or something like that. Just go for a brisk walk. It's movement, whatever your thing is, and it's key to enjoy it, because if not, it will become another chore. Another chore on your long to-do list. Make it be enjoyable and relaxing in a way, or give you benefits, make you feel better by doing it, not make you feel worse. So, movement. Now, if you can, throw in a couple of extra bits to this movement, even more powerful. First of all, I would say exercise or movement. The reason being, if you increase your heart rate and your blood pressure and your breathing, then you're actually using the cortisol, adrenaline and noradrenaline that's coursing around your body and causing the stress. It's because you've got excess amounts of those, because that's what fight or flight is. It's been put there to help you fight or flight from your stressor. Now, your stressor might be your deadline that's due on Friday, so you're not actually using those chemicals because they're there to make you run faster or to punch and fight and be strong. And so exercise actually does that. It's reenacting running up that hill after that deer. So if you were to go for a run or dance around your kitchen or do some brisk hoovering, or go for a walk with a friend or something like that, you're using those excess chemicals up, which brings it down to resting. So they're up here somewhere, you're using them, increasing your heart rate and your blood pressure by the movement, and then you're bringing it down to resting. So that's the fastest, easiest, quickest, most effective way I find to rebalance your whole system. If you think that the cause is the excess chemicals, use those chemicals, you've solved the problem largely. So this is why it's a really good thing to use those chemicals up. Now, on top of that, if you can do it outside, even better, because you're now getting vitamin D from the daylight, the sunlight, which is the natural mood lifting hormone. So if you're also getting daylight outside, you're feeling better because it's lifting your mood with the little top up of vitamin D that you will be getting. And low vitamin D levels, if you're inside all the time and you're minimal time outside in daylight, you possibly deficient anyway in vitamin D, which is bringing your mood down anyway, which is not helping the stress. And they may go hand in hand. If you get outside and keep boosting your vitamin D regularly with the movement, then you're going to also lift your mood. So those are the reasons why I stay outside. Now, if you're going to go outside and do that movement, even better that you do it in the morning, because you then get daylight to the back of your eye receptors, which your eye receptors are the controlling center for your melatonin. So your melatonin is the sleep hormone. If you get daylight to your eyes before lunch or early afternoon, it will be balance it and correct it to the point where it will release the melatonin and get that right ready for your sleep in the evening. So it's best to get daylight before early afternoon if you can, and reduce the light to your eyes so that your whole body clock and your circadian rhythms are in the right, they are synced and in the right order, ready for sleep at night. So outside, vitamin D, sort your melatonin out. Of course, you also get fresh air and oxygen to your brain, which helps you with your concentration. So if you are working at that computer, sat indoors, no vitamin D, no movement, and no fresh air and oxygen to your brain, it's not going to help your productivity. If you get outside, go for a walk, get some fresh air and some oxygen to your brain, then that will help your concentration for the afternoon. Anyway, it's not that you take away your time from the desk, you actually add to your productivity. You don't take from your productivity, it's an investment. So you will be able to concentrate so much easier in the afternoon, you'll be more creative, etc., because you've blown those cobwebs away, you've given yourself some oxygen and fresh air to your brain. And so for all of those reasons, even if it's just for 10 minutes walk around the block at lunchtime, give yourself a break. You will definitely benefit. If it can be a jog or a cycle or something that just increases your heart rate, even better. But if it's just take a cup of tea outside into the car park at work, or the eating area outside if there is one, or if you work from home, sit out with your cup of tea. If you've got a call, take it outside. As much outside as you possibly can, and as much movement as you possibly can, then you will definitely feel the benefit. That doesn't mean that gyms aren't great. They are. If that's the only way, fine. But if you're able to get the fresh air and the vitamin D, then bring that in too if you can. Whatever you can do, whatever's easy in your routine, without adding to your to-do list, without making you feel bad if you don't, but does bring you benefits, then bring that in. It's all about self-management. The second tip is, as we mentioned earlier, as you're walking down that dark alleyway and you think it's a mad, crazy axeman, that triggers the release of all the chemicals. When you notice it's your mates, you've basically told yourself it's okay, it's fine, it's only them. So you've effectively turned that switch off through your thinking. So imagine, let's say you're house sitting and you don't know this house, it's an unusual house, or you're staying somewhere in an Airbnb or something like that, and you wake at 3 in the morning with some weird noises downstairs and you think, oh my God, there's burglars. Oh my God. And you're looking around, your heart's racing, you're sweating, you've got the whole physiological reaction of thinking there are burglars there. And then you realize, Oh no, it's the boiler. No, the heating's coming on. God, it's fine. And it calms it down. So it's thoughts that can often trigger the stress response. It doesn't make it any less powerful. If you think there's a burglar, you will respond physiologically with all of those hormones and all the anatomical physiological reactions that come with them. As soon as you correct that thought, it calms down. So self-management tip number 2 is notice your thought patterns. What are you saying in your head about that deadline, about the kids, about your boss, about the job or the traffic jam or whatever? What are you saying that's worsening it, and what could you change? For example, I just haven't got enough time in the day. Oh God, I wish this roundabout would stop and I could just get off, or no one else can do this job or help me or something. They won't do it properly. All of those thoughts, when's this going to stop? It's all your stress and your anxiety thought. It's the story that you're saying. And we can change that story. So what is the story you're giving yourself? What are the stress lines and the narrative that you're feeding? And you can change that. Other people might have your scenario and think, oh, I love this. I thrive on being busy. I thrive on a deadline. That's what they're saying in their head. Others might go, I just can't cope. That's what they're saying in their head. There's no right or wrong, but what's helping you most? Sometimes when you wake up in the morning, I often say or hear from clients and they, oh God, I've got to get the kids to school. I've got to go to that meeting. I've got to go and see my mother. I've got to this. I've got to that. Even just that internal dialogue is dragging us down. If we change it by one letter to I get to take the kids to school, I get to go to that meeting, I get to see my mother, you'll feel different just in that one letter. So be mindful of what you're saying in your head about this scenario. If you're telling yourself, I've got this, I can do it, I'm going to quickly go to that meeting, I've prepared, I've got everything, I'm going to just attend for the first part and then excuse myself, I'm going to go to see my mother briefly at lunchtime, and then I'm going to whiz to the gym after work and then have a calm, stress-free evening and look after myself and have a nice salt bath. You're going to feel much better than if you're, oh God, I've got to go to that meeting, I've got to go and see my mother, and then that makes me feel stressed just saying that. So be careful of the stress story, correct it, challenge it, change it, check it, and see what you can do with it, because you will be feeding, those thoughts will be feeding those feelings. They're very, very connected. If you change what you're saying, you'll change how you feel. So that is an incredibly important tip. Just notice what you're saying when you're feeling this way. With the score that you worked out earlier in this program, if it were an 8, 9, 10, what is the dialogue that's going with that? What could you change? What could you correct and say differently? Because the point here with this phrase really is it's not actually the event itself that's stressing you, because another person would see it very differently. So it's not the tangible event itself, it's how you're viewing it and what you're saying. It's the interpretation of it that causes the emotional reaction. Knowing that might be enough for you to just change what you're saying. So change the I've got to I get to, change what you're saying, challenge it. Tip number 3, take control insofar as you need to control your energies and your outputs and build in some me time. Let me explain what I mean. Let's say this is your normal output every day. You get up, you do your chores, you tidy the kitchen, you get the kids together, you go to work, you perform all day at work, you come home, you knock some dinner together, help the children with the homework, get them off to bed, and then sit down for a couple. That's your normal day. But then you get some zappers come in. You get up in the morning, you start to do the breakfast, one of the children's not well. Not feeling very well, and you've got to sort out, oh God, now what do I do? I need child. What am I going to do? I need to phone the boss. I need to sort this out. I need to get the GP appointment. I need to, and then your mother phones and said, I thought we could come for the weekend this weekend. Oh no, not this weekend. We've got the kids are at a football tournament, and then we've got a birthday party, and then we'll do, and all of these things. They start draining us. their energy drains. There might be a -3 with that the child and the sickness, and then a -4 because the childcare's not there and the boss wants you at that meeting. Your husband can't do it, or you can't do it, or whatever, whoever. Then a -1 with a phone call, and -5 if your mother wanted to come this weekend, and so on and so forth. So what happens then, if you don't bring in re-energizers, if you think about it, you've got to balance if they're draining -5, -2, -1, -4, draining and draining of your normal output, because we've all got normal output, but then extras come in. We have to balance that with some re-energizers. We have to consciously know, what are your re-energizers? Often when I'm running this face-to-face in workshops in organizations and things, and I ask them to list, what are your re-energizers? When did you last bring them in? How often? How did you bring them into your everyday? Some people don't even know a single re-energizer. Well, I haven't got, I don't know how I re-energize, because they simply don't. So what are yours? Write them down. Is it a nice soak in the bath with a good book? Is it taking an easel outside and sitting on the side of a pond and doing some painting? Is it baking a cake for the family and beautifully icing it, creatively icing it? Is it going fishing? Is it just sitting out in the garden with your newspaper and a nice cup of tea and no one interrupting you? What are your re-energizers? Everybody's different. Some people love rock climbing and abseiling. That's their re-energizers. Some just like going to a spa or going for a walk or seeing a friend, a good friend, for a coffee. Think about, if you don't bring in a few of these, some will be really, really great. A great day at the spa might be a +5. A walk and a sit under a tree with a good book by yourself might be a +4. But you need to know what they are, and you need to bring them in, because if you don't, you're going to deplete and deplete and deplete and deplete, and that is when we're in trouble. That is when sometimes it can be the straw that breaks the camel's back. One more thing comes in and you're burned out, completely burned out. And we don't want, if you don't bring in these energizers and manage your stress, you will burn out. I've been at the end of that myself. It happened to me, and I work with many clients where it's happened or it's happening. It's best to see it before it happens and prevent it. It can be really costly to burn out. That relationship, the marriage will struggle, your health might struggle, the business might fold. You might get made redundant or let go because of the burnout. We don't want that, so we've got to see it in advance. So we are all in charge of managing our energizers. But of course, us humans feel guilty. But don't let it make you feel guilty, because it's not a luxury. Going off and sitting under a tree for half an hour at lunchtime with a good book and not working at your desk with a sandwich and push through is an investment. You'll come back feeling much better and more productive, but B, it's a necessity. You've got to build them in these little pockets of re-energizers. It don't have to be long, just little moments, just 10 minutes in the bath and just do some breath work, breathe and catch your breath, etc. Close your eyes, maybe doze for 10 minutes. You'll feel a lot better. Because remember, like that camera there, if you take the camera on holiday and you take hundreds and hundreds of holiday snaps, brilliant, we've got a lovely, lovely lot of photos going on there. If you don't recharge that camera or replace the battery when it's needed, it will stop working. It will basically stop being even a camera, because you won't be able to take any more photos and won't be able to get your previous photos out. So basically it's stopped working. It's burnt out. It's like us. So we have to recharge that battery. If you don't, you're no good to anybody. You've got to recharge your batteries so that you can be there for the kids and sort all their issues and support them and be kind and loving and there for them. If you don't recharge, you can't be a great employee or team member or whatever, or boss, whatever you are. It will affect your performance and your ability. If you don't recharge, you won't be a great partner, daughter or son, husband or wife, best friend or anything, because you're depleted and you're going to burnout. If you do recharge, you're in a much better position to be able to give to all of your work colleagues, all of your customers, and to your partner and your loved ones and your family and your friends and your children and everybody that needs from you. We've all got people pulling on us. That's the nature of the game. That's the way of life. But we have to balance those scales, or we'll have nothing left to give those important people. So it's not a luxury, it's a necessity. It is not selfish, it's selfless. You do not need to feel guilty. You need to give yourself permission and give each other, your partners and people like that, permission, because it is crucial. So what are your re-energizers? Is it going for a dog walk? Is it a soak in the bath, or a push coffee by yourself with the newspaper, or reading a good book? What are yours? And you do need to be aware of them. Because remember the phrase, you cannot pour from an empty jug. And it is so true. So the rule, no guilt allowed. Give yourself permission. It's crucial. Self-management tip number 4, adapt to change. Change can be very stressful. Us humans don't like change, but it is so much better if you adapt quickly. Same with animals. When animals adapt to a change in their environment quickly, they thrive. They don't just survive, they thrive. Animals that can't adapt or don't adapt die out. We need to adapt to change. So if it's, I get booked in organizations all the time to do a change workshop because people are resistant to change. That's not where I've always sat there. That's not my desk. That's not my role. That's not my responsibility. That's not the way we do things. We've always done it this way, etc. And that's stressful for you and for everybody else. Adapting to change is much better for us, our confidence, our well-being, our mental health, our productivity, the team, etc. So we need to adapt to change quickly so that we thrive and survive. And we need to take some control in that change and find what's in our control. So as I've said, think about how are you being, how are you responding? Is there anything that you can change in order to get greater purchase on it, greater control over it? And where are you focusing? Are you focused on resistance, or are you focusing on adapting and evolving? So it's not the strongest, I love this phrase by Charles Darwin, it's not the strongest that survives, but the ones that are most responsive to change. And that is so true. So true with animals, but we are still those animals, and it's true of us. So where are you focusing? When there's an issue, whatever that big overwhelming issue is, are you focusing on the big circle of concern, the problem, the issues, and all the interrelated parts of those issues? The budget's been pulled, there's policies changed, the department's changed, there's been a reshuffle, change in management, all of that. Are you focusing on that? Or are you focusing on the little bit in the middle, which is in your control and in your influence? Have you stopped to think, what can I control? What can I influence? What's in my remit here? And if you're focusing on the big blue area of the problem, you will feel disempowered. However, if you focus on the bit that's in your control, you will feel very empowered. And actually, that ends up by feeling even bigger because you feel much more in control. That necessarily makes the big concern much smaller. So often when I'm running this in workshops and do it on a big flip chart and get everybody to write down on post-its break this whole problem up into subparts, what all the bits that challenge you, concern you, onto separate post-its for each individual person. They'll come with a handful of post-its, therefore, and I get them to post them. Do you think they're in the circle of problem, the challenge, or each one are they in the circle of influence? So I get them to post those post-its in the blue or the yellow area. And it's interesting when they do it as a whole that they've pretty much all done very similar things on their post-its, but some will put it in the blue, it's a problem. Some will put it in, it's in my control. And they almost kind of coach each other. Well, that's interesting. Why have you put that in your control? Well, because I can do this, I can do that, I can do that, oh yeah. And they start moving those post-its around and start realizing, well, yeah, I can influence that. I can do something about that. I can change this, etc., etc. So what's in your control? And that can be in any area of your life. What's in your control with that house move or the house sale and things like that, and what's not in your control. Focus on what you can do about it. Us humans feel a lot better when we feel we've got some control over the situation, and find what can I do about this, what's in my control. Tip number 5, again, I keep going back to evolution, and I do think there's a lot in that actually, is pull together. We evolved as a human race evolved by pulling together. It was not survival of the fittest, I do not believe, because the fittest would have gone off hunting by themselves and then fallen prey to something, or cut themselves and got an infection or something like that and died, and therefore their genes wouldn't have been passed on and we would have died out. Instead, I believe it was survival of groups. They pulled together, they hunted together, gathered together, educated and raised the children together, built shelters together, looked after each other. If you weren't at the campfire that night eating with the shared food and telling stories, they knew you weren't there, they'd come looking for you, look after you. And that's what I think is missing at the moment. We so often go through these struggles by ourselves. We socially withdraw, as I mentioned earlier, and I don't want to go and see friends, I don't want to put this on. It's actually the opposite. So many of the things that we do to try and make ourselves better are the wrong things in the long term. It's counterintuitive. We need to go out and see friends when we're feeling this way. We need to pull towards other people, hear their stories, share our stories, have that human contact, pull together so you don't feel isolated, you don't feel it's all piling on top of you, you don't feel alone in this. You actually feel that other people are there and sharing it. And you don't have to talk and talk and talk about it all the time. Just distract. Just hearing their stories, their lives, what's going on for them, laughing about their children and the issues they've had, and feeling we're all in it together. We're all going through those difficult teen years with our teenage children, and it's all normal. And all of that you get from meeting up with other people, you realize, oh God, they're struggling too. Oh gosh, they're having a rough time. Their parents are frailing and getting old and things like that, or poorly. You're not the only one going through this. You need to go with other people who are having similar tough times or other tough times or good times, and you celebrate those good times with them and it cheers you up. Whatever it is, pull together. Do not isolate yourself. It's the worst possible thing you can do. Loneliness and isolation are very, very damaging, very, very harmful for us and our well-being. Pulling together is the antidote. So don't, even if you feel down and not in the right mood, make yourself go out and see your friends. Go out and chat, laugh, do things, activities together, go fishing together, go for a walk together, cycling, whatever it is, the cinema. You will feel a little bit better for that little bit of time. And if you do pockets of those before you know it, you're turning this long-term stress around. So resilience and survival, we need to pull together. It is not a weakness, it is a strength. The last thing, coming to an end now, tackle the BMWs in your team, as I call them, the bitching, the moaning, the whinging. It's toxic, it's infectious, and it's toxic. If you have any of that in your department or at home in your family, have zero tolerance. It doesn't do us any good. It drags us all down. Try not to be that person that's spreading all the bitching and the moaning and the whinging. Try not to be that mindset, and try not to be affected by others. Either put a stop to it or protect yourself from it or ignore it. Don't get drawn into it. It's not healthy. It's very negative. It's very infectious. It's very harmful. And it does drag us down. It does drag our moods down. So protect yourself from it. Don't allow it to come into your life. Don't allow it to be part of your life. Tip number 6, breathe. Just breathing helps you relax. So relax and breathe, but actually I think it should be the other way around. So when I said about exercise burning up those chemicals, the other side of that sword is to slow the breath and the heart rate down through breath work. And the power of breath work is that it's free, it's accessible to us all, it's there at any point, No one needs to know that you're doing it. It's a little gem in your toolkit that you can draw on at any point. And above all else, it's coming from within. So the strategies that some of us reach for, a glass of wine, a few beers, oh, I need a cigarette, or whatever, comfort food or whatever, they're external things. We're reaching for the external comforts to make us feel better. But in a sense, that's almost telling our internal mind and stress that we can't cope. But if we do it from within, where we calm our breath work, our breathing rate down, we're basically telling ourselves, nothing to see here, this is fine, there's no stressor, I'm calm, it's fine. It's an internal message that everything's all right. It's internally controlling the fight or flight and our nervous system. So many of you might think, well, I breathe all the time, it's fine, I'm breathing. Yes, you are, but there is a certain way that we can breathe to calm us down, and there are certain ways that we can breathe to actually stimulate us and stress us. If I do lots of short, sharp breathing into my chest here, I'm actually hyperventilating and bringing on sort of borderline almost panic, because there's no breathing apparatus here. There's delivery tubes where our breath is right down below our ribs, sort of down by the belly button. That's where our lungs are, down there either side. And we need to send the breath. So I'm just going to very quickly now teach a couple of breath techniques that can help to calm us down. So maybe put your hand on your belly button, and I'm going to teach you breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth for this. And I want you to slowly breathe in through your nose to the count of 4 and send the breath down to your hand, so that as your lungs fill, your hand should be pushed out by the very inflating of those lungs. The hand should move out. And then I want you to hold it for about 6 or 7 seconds. So there's lovely gases. It's not just been sent to the right place. Now there's lovely gaseous exchange going on. And hold it for those 6 or 7 seconds, and then an out breath through your mouth. A small little, as if you're blowing out through a straw, nice and slow for about 8, count of 8. Really slow, long out breath. And it's actually the out breath that is the calming effect. It's that message to you and your physiology that everything's fine. No stress needed here. So you kind of go in for 4, right down to your lungs, hold for that 6 or 7 seconds, and then exhale. And your hand should be going back down as your lungs are releasing all of that air. And if you do a few cycles of that, that really slows your heart rate down, your breath down, everything down. And also the counting is quite distracting too. So you can't be feeding that stress story of, oh my God, I've got to get this done, I've got to get this done, because you're busy counting. So distraction is a great technique at the best of times. This is a lovely thing to use at night if you can't sleep. Lay on your back, nice and relax everything, and do those cycles of breathing and counting and out breath, etc., etc. Can really calm you down and help you. Just relax. Just don't make sleep your goal. Don't force yourself to try and sleep, because that's stressful. You're never going to fall asleep when you think, oh God, I can't sleep. God, it's 4 o'clock. That's not going to happen. Just think, I'm going to get some rest. I'm going to do some nice breathing and relax all my muscles. And that's more likely to get you to sleep, because it's not the pressure of, I've got to go to sleep. It's just, I'm going to get some rest. And even if you do only get some rest, it's beneficial. Your body and your mind benefits from just resting, just laying still, nice and warm, snuggled, doing your breath work, counting, not feeding the stress story, not worrying about work, etc. You will benefit from that. Another way, if you're anxious, you're suddenly really upset at work, or anxious or stressed or something, a really quick one is 2 sharp in-breaths, maybe even 3 if you can. In, hold for a second or 2, and then a nice slow out breath. It's always a much slower out breath, pretty much in virtually every breath technique that you use. So this one is the kind of sharp, if you've ever watched a toddler finishing a tantrum or a crying fit, when they are rebalancing, when their nervous system is rebalancing, they're just stopping crying, they'll go, and that is their nervous system rebalancing. And we can reenact that when we're stressed and anxious by going, where you can take no more in breath. You've really maximized your in breath, and then hold it for a second or two, and then and when you think your lungs are empty, push a little bit more out, fully empty. And that couple of those can really reset you. You can go to the loo at work or something, go to get away from the kids at home and go into the bathroom and just do a couple of those, and you will feel so much calmer. So there are immediate techniques that you can use in your toolkit that cost nothing and is immediate. So try it. Find which one works for you. Not all of them work for everybody. Just find the one you like. There are more, by the way. Have a look on YouTube. There is loads of breath work for stress and anxiety. It is a really good thing. Practice it when you're calm so that you're ready to use it when you're stressed. I often, when I'm watching TV, and the ads come on, the ad break, I think, oh, I'll do some breath work, and I'll do a few cycles of the breath work and use the ads for a few minutes, because it's a very, very good thing for you to do anyway. It's very de-stressing anyway. So second to last, I think, penultimate one is remember that sometimes the best way forward is to just stop, is to stop pushing, just calm, stop, take your foot off the gas. Just walk away from that project, have a break, stop. And sometimes when you come back, you feel so much better. So don't keep slogging. Don't keep bashing your head against the wall. Sometimes you just got to cut your losses, move away, come back in a better frame of mind. Maybe you've done some breath work. Maybe you've been outside. Maybe you've had a break. Then come back to it. Just stop for a while. Let go. And lastly, laughter. We release our own endorphins through laughter. It's a great state changer if you can have a real laugh. It can just change the whole mood and the whole atmosphere. This is why I think a lot of the emergency services have a lot of dark humor. They have to laugh or they would crack. The things they see, the things they have to deal with, their everyday things that they're coping with, and the stress levels that they're coping with, they've got to have laughter to keep them sane. Laughter is a great antidote. So if there's not much laughter in your life right now because of the stress, maybe proactively bring some in. If there's a particular comedian that you love, seek them out. Go and watch some clips of YouTube or something like that. If you love listening to something that's really funny, or watching things, reading certain books or whatever. If you've got a best friend that always makes you laugh, go and see that friend. It's just so good for the soul to have some laughter. Try and have some laughter every day if you can. About anything, try and see some laughter anywhere. Have a little giggle. It's such a mood changer. So bring laughter into your life as often as you possibly can. So in summary, then, we've covered a lot of ground here. You've got to rebalance your nervous system. It's a nervous system thing. It's a physiological thing. We're built with it. We need it. It's great, but when it gets out of sync, we've got to try and rebalance it. And I've given you loads of ways of rebalancing that. Don't forget that you've got exercise as a great strategy. Even if it's dancing in the kitchen, it can so change your mood. I think there's somebody on Instagram where he does dancing for this reason. He's an older guy. He does great little things, little ditties with his wife, just dancing anywhere and everywhere. And he's so upbeat. They're so both of them a happy couple. So just do things like that outside if you can. Get lots of vitamin D, get lots of fresh air if you can. Change the toxic thoughts so that you're feeding a different story. I'm calm, I've got this, I can cope with this. By the weekend, this will all be behind me. I'm going to chill, can't wait, it'll be over soon. Recharge your batteries. Bring it in, diarize it. Make sure you do a few recharging, re-energizers. as often as you can. A little pocket here, a little pocket there. Maybe combine them. I love listening to, I love reading, but I don't always get time to read. So I listen to audiobooks. I don't get time to sit down and listen to audiobooks. So I do it while I'm out exercising or out walking the dogs. I'll often combine walking the dogs with seeing a mate. Don't get much time to socialise in evenings because I often coach in the evenings because I'm working with teenagers after school and uni. So I meet friends with their dogs, my dogs, in the woods for movement and socials on a dog walk. So I've combined about 3 things in one go. Or I'll listen to audiobooks and podcasts, comedy podcasts, interesting podcasts, learning things while ironing, while hoovering and doing all of those mundane chores, cleaning the bath, etc., etc. I'll add those things in. So combine some of the energizers with the zappers, or a couple of energizers when I'm driving to the supermarket, listening to some really fast beat music and singing. Singing, by the way, is really good because you're taking deep breaths to sing. Sing at the top of your voice as you drive along in the car. You'll feel different by the time you get there. All of those things you can bring in. Get some control in your situation. Think about where you've got that control. See, focus on the empowerment rather than disempowerment. Pull together with your friends. Don't stay away. They're there for you. You can be there for them. It's a great de-stressor if you're there for them too. And breath work. Try to do it every day. You don't have to be stressed to do it. Do it when you're calm. Then you'll master it, ready for when you need it. And do all of these things with other people, especially the laughter. Share it. I really hope that's been helpful. This is my name, Dawn Fiske. I'm a coach and trainer. If you'd be interested in a workshop like this in your organisation, then give me a shout. If you'd be interested in any other programs, have a look at the website, which is there on the slide. And if you'd be interested in one-to-one coaching support, and I work with clients all the time online or face-to-face, from the age of 12 up, I do work with clients of all ages with stresses, anxiety, goal setting, confidence, career, all sorts of topics, all sorts of life confidence topics. Then you can contact me through either the telephone or through the website. Have a look at the website. There's lots going on there and a free podcast. I hope that's been helpful. It's been lovely. Please do give feedback and good luck with your stress.